What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Richard Prophet, the last dragon of the watch community. It's Sunday, but it's not Sunday night, it's Sunday daytime. So I just want to drop this video. On the channel because this is something I really want to talk about. First off, let me say that this is not a watch video. We're not talking about Rolex right now. We're going to be talking about, please join us later on tonight, Sunday night, and we're going to drop the Rolex video, but that's later on tonight. Today, right now, I want to talk real estate, forbearance in particular. Now I'm going to give you a few seconds to go out, get yourself a drink, get yourself a cigar, meditate for a couple minutes, or do whatever it is that you do to open up your mind and expand your mind, because what we're going to talk about today is something that you have to have an open mind to kind of like grasp what I'm talking about, or maybe even just to like hear what I'm saying. So I am drinking a gin martini, a Bombay Sapphire gin martini, and cheers, family. I'm gonna give you a second, go out, get your drink, do whatever it is that you do to open up your mind and relax, and we're gonna get into today's video.
Black dial watches, but white dial watches just honestly are just easier to see, easier to read sometimes, especially like in low light, especially as you get older, or some people that may have eye.
All right, everybody, so by now you got your drink, your mind is open, you're sitting down, you're relaxed, you're comfortable, and we're gonna talk about it. We are gonna talk about it. Forbearance. So what happened? Let me kind of go to the very beginning. So before all this is happening, the real estate market in the United States in particular is like is super high. New York City real estate market, the real estate market in general, but the New York City real estate market in particular is high. It's probably like at one of the all-time highs, and it's kind of like, it's unsustainable. If you ask people that have been around, the prices that we have for, now I'm talking investment real estate, some of these prices are unsustainable, right? So like, let's take an area like the Bronx, right? For a two-family house in a, not really a rough neighborhood, but like a mid-tier neighborhood, a two-family house might be $780,000, $750,000. Now, if you are an investor and you buy that house and it's a two-family house, you rent out 2 units, you can't cover the mortgage. You can't service the debt on $780,000 with 2 rentals, unless you pay off. You buy it cash and you just park your money, or you're putting something like 50% down. It's unsustainable. But what people are doing now is like they were doing post, pre-2008. People were buying, holding it for a little bit and trying to flip it, because the market kept going up and up, right? That was right before the crash. Now you're seeing that again. You're seeing that now. But so this stuff, prices are just too high. Multifamily prices are just too high now. Whether you're at the 2 apartment level, or all the way up to bigger units, 50 units, 75 units, the prices just seem too high right now. Even though you say, oh, but mortgage rates are super low. Okay, but the prices are high. So that means more of a down payment. You know, you got a commercial P 30% plus closing costs is a huge amount of money. You know, not everybody can do that, right? So now let's look at this for a second. So we all know that pre, post, whatever, big companies, these hedge funds, big money companies, whatever, you know, a big chunk of their portfolios are always in real estate, right? So they buy multi-family portfolios, and they hold them, or they flip them, or you know, they issue bonds, and you know, they pay the bondholder. The bank puts out the money. They pay the bondholders this and that. I mean, we know how real estate goes, right? So in this current climate, in this even in, you know, places like Florida, the multifamily prices are so high that there's nothing these big companies can buy, because they portfolio assets, meaning they'll hold them to collect monthlies on them, right? There's nothing that they can buy that makes sense financially, where they can service the debt and make money for their bondholders, right? So there is nothing that they can buy that makes sense right now. Whether it's New York City, forget about it. Any one of the 5 boroughs, prices are sky high. And you got places like Florida, you know, these you go down the list of any big city, these prices are higher than I've ever seen them, right? So now this is where we're gonna get into, and you have to open your mind a little bit. Just hear me out. So all this goes on. Everybody's running. Everybody's crazy. There's a lot going on. A lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of people are getting laid off, or they're getting furloughed, whatever you want to call it. Or business owners have to close down. The world has to shut down. It's quarantine. You know, everybody's shut down. You can't go outside. You can't open your business. Blah blah blah. Right. So and they say, okay, renters don't have to pay rent, and there's an eviction moratorium. You can't get evicted. Renters don't have to pay rent. Okay. Now, for the first time ever, I've heard of no rent before, but for the first time ever, I've never heard of you don't have to pay your mortgage. Since I've been alive, I've never heard of you don't have to pay your mortgage, right? So, boom. They're saying, if you've been affected, we're giving you forbearance, 3-month forbearance. Then they extended it to 6-month forbearance. Then they came out with the new thing. We can do your 6-month forbearance, and then if you still need more, we'll give you another 6-month forbearance. Okay, so now you have a 3, 6, 12-month forbearance period. It was a little shady at the beginning, but then they came out and said, the bank, the banks told the homeowner, the individual homeowner, we can, once the forbearance period is up, we can either allow you to pay a little bit of the 6 months, 12 months, 3 months, whatever it is, a little bit extra to your mortgage until you're caught up. We can give you some sort of payment plan, or we can take the months that were in forbearance and put them in the back of the loan, right? These are some of the available options. Okay. Now, they said that we will be able to do that, right? We could do that. Okay, they said that. Now, the government has not made clear, right? They just said, oh, you have to give homeowners forbearance. Okay. But they haven't said anything after that, except that they've extended. Now, I'm going to speak in Florida and New York City in particular. These are the 2 markets that I know. So they have extended the eviction moratorium in Florida. They've extended the eviction moratorium in New York. But they haven't said anything in regards to the mortgage forbearance. They just said, oh, you need more time, take more time. But they've never covered how is this money going to be paid back. You know, we just know that forbearance doesn't mean forgiveness. So when you say the term forbearance, we know eventually or sooner or later that this money needs to be paid back. This money will not go away. It's not going to be forgiven. You're going to have to pay it back. So why isn't the government making clear about how this forbearance money is going to be dealt with? So they're allowing the banks to say, okay, we might be able to offer you this option. We might be able to offer you that option. Okay. Now, I know a few people that have got into forbearance, got on forbearance or whatever it is. And I'm going to tell you what's happening with them currently. Now, before we get into that, let me just say this. Let's say, I mean, I think this is what forbearance was aimed at initially, right? So let's say you have, you know, two family house, and you have a job, and you live in one apartment with your family, and you rent out the other apartment, right? You get laid off. Oh, the upstairs guy gets laid off, whatever, nobody can pay, he can't pay you the rent, so you need half of the rent to cover the mortgage. He can't pay you the rent, so you jump in forbearance, great. You know, until we all go back to work, you know, I don't have to pay the mortgage. Okay, that's fine. But now, your 3 months forbearance over. You're sick because the 3 months is already over. The 3 month ended in July. Now we're going into the 6 months. But all banks will not, they don't have to extend you to 6 months. That's at their discretion. Or they don't have to extend you to 12 months. That's at their discretion. Which a buddy of mine has found out the hard way. So your 3 months are over in July. Your tenant is still not paying. The courts are closed. Housing court is closed. And there's eviction moratorium, Florida, New York, you know, I think it's nationwide. So you can evict your tenant for a non-pay, meaning he's not paying you rent or for the money he's owed you. You can't evict him. But you call your bank and you ask for an additional 3 month forbearance, and they say no, you don't qualify for that because whatever reason they give you, this and that, you don't qualify for that. And you say, okay, well, you know, take the 3 months that I owe you. Now, this is what actually is happening with a friend of mine. So he calls him up. He says, I'm back to work. Well, I reopened my business and I can pay this month's mortgage. So I want you to accept my mortgage payment and take the 3 months that I owe you and stick them in the back of the loan, right? They say, no, we're not. We're not going to stick it in the back of the loan. You owe all that money now. And he says, no, I don't have all this money. I'm just back working. Let me send you 1 month. They said, I can't accept 1 month payment from you right now. Excuse me. We can't accept 1 month payment for you right now. You have to pay all the money. He says, I don't have it. I live in the home. And, he gets angry. Do whatever you want. He hangs up the phone. About a week later, he gets in the mail what's called the default letter. He gets a default letter saying that you are in default in your mortgage. And, we have the option. We can accelerate this loan right now and demand all the money. Please call, whatever, your advisor, whatever. He calls up the person's name. They tell him, listen, we can accept the 3 month payment for you now and you can continue paying your mortgage. He says, I don't have all that money. I can make one payment. Again, the same thing he spoke. They said, we can't accept one payment from you because you are now in default. he says, but when I was put on forbearance, they said that I have, we could put the, we could put the months that I'm missing in the back of the loan. They said, yes, that was an option, but you don't qualify for that option. So we need all the money because you're now in default. And actually, there's nothing else we can do for you because you're in default. So you're over 90 days behind on your mortgage or whatever it is. So boom, he hangs up pissed off. They start sending him other letters. You're in default. They start sending him certified letters where he has to sign for them, pick them up or whatever. So what they're doing is they're building a paper trail on him. Now, if you've ever been in the mortgage business or you've ever lent money, like hard money out, to foreclose on somebody, it's a process. And people say, oh, but they can't foreclose on anybody right now because the courts are closed. Hear this. Before you foreclose on somebody, you get foreclosed on or whatever, you have to go through a paper trail process before you get to court. So, okay, the courts are closed right now. But even if the courts were open, if you're just 3 months behind, you wouldn't be in court. They would have to start this paper trail process on you. So they have to give you the default letter. They have to give you demand letter. They have to give you default letter. They have to give you, in New York City, they have to give you like a packet of papers where, like these different agencies that help you with mortgage help or this and that are available near you, mortgage counseling. And they have to send you options like, oh, we can short sale your house. You might qualify for a short sale on your house, or you can give deed in lieu of foreclosure. Blah blah blah. All these papers, all this BS papers, they have to issue to you before they actually show up with you to court, before they get a court date. So okay, the courts are closed now, but the paperwork comes before the courts, right? So hear me out. You have equity in your home. Let's say you have $1 million home. You owe $250,000 on it. You owe $300,000 on it. You're 3, 4, 5 months behind on your mortgage. And they're saying, we're going to default on you, right? They're not giving you an option to pay it back. They're just saying, oh no, give us the 3 months now, give us the 6 months now, or we're moving on you. So they know you don't have that money because you weren't working, or your business was closed, or you're just maintaining, you're trying to keep food on the table. So they know you don't have the money, right? So in my opinion, maybe they don't even want the money, right? Maybe that's a bluff. What they want is, again, these big companies, there's nothing for them to buy. The prices are too high. They don't want to come in these places with no equity. They can't service the debt. They can't, satisfy the bondholders, whatever it is. So there has to be a way to get property cheaper. We've already had the subprime mortgage. We can't do that again, right? There's all kind of protections in place for that, blah, blah, blah. How can we come up with a new way to get these properties cheap? Forbearance, default, foreclosure. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that this is a land grab. I think that this is going to be the biggest land grab in the history in the United States. This is going to be, unless the government steps in and says, anybody that was on forbearance, we're going to forgive any months that you were being forborne. And even if they did say that, that would only be on the homes that were backed with an FHA loan. A lot of homes, especially investor properties, don't have FHA loans. They'll have like some company servicing their loan, or a servicer that is not FHA loan, conventional, whatever it is. It won't be backed by it. So even if the government did announce, listen, we're forgiving all properties that are on forbearance, any payments that were on forbearance, even if they did announce that, that wouldn't apply to everyone. So, but as of right now, they haven't announced that. They just said, oh, the banks will be able to do this and do that. Okay, but so what does that mean? That is the bank's discretion. So if the banks are being pressured to decide to say, no, we need all the money now, what are you going to do? What are you going to do as the small homeowner, as the small multifamily owner, as the small guy? You don't have 500 apartments. You don't own 1,000 apartments. You just own, you might have 20 units. You might have 10 units or whatever. Even you might have 3 units. And they're telling you, we need all this money now, because they made it so easy. If you go back and you remember the qualifications for the forbearance, where all you had to do was call up and say, yes, I need it. And they would grant it to you. There was no paperwork involved. They didn't want to see that you were affected. They didn't want to see anything. Yes, I need it. Or you can go on the website, click one button. Are you affected? Yes, I'm affected. They put you on forbearance. Now, I don't know. And I got the one buddy that after 3 months, he said he asked for another extension. They said, no, we need all the money. There's nothing else we can do. And, he doesn't have it. And he's already got a default letter in the mail. It was like hyper fast. And he's got like certified mail. Now they're bombarding him with all this paperwork. So to me, it looks like they're getting the paperwork out of the way first, so that when the courts do open, they're already at the level, at the time where they can have a court date, because they've already got the paperwork out of the way. They've hit him with the mortgage, help. They've hit him with the demand letter. They hit him with the intent to foreclose. They hit him with all this paperwork already, and now it's time for them to go to court. And when he gets to court, they can say, let's say you got $1 million home, you owe 200 on it. The bank can show up and say, look, Your Honor, we already have, we're willing to do a short sale on this property. We already have a buyer in place. We can move this property in 30 days. And is the judge going to hear you out? Do they want to hear, maybe, I don't know, but maybe not. If it's just a big national land grab, right? Maybe they won't hit you out. They'll just say, okay, next, and move you on. Because I remember back in 2008, the foreclosures were insane. People that I knew that went to court, they were getting foreclosed upon. The judges didn't want to hear, or maybe they didn't have time. I don't know. There was so many cases, but they really didn't want to hear anything you had to say. Either you had all the money to get caught up, or you didn't. Next, and that's how that went. That's just how that went. And that's why we had, all these foreclosures, this and that. Okay, they can't do that again. I understand. We have, all type, you super qualified for all these pieces of property and this and that. So they can't grab property like that again, because a lot of these companies, they got richer after 2008. I mean, I know friends of mine in particular got richer after 2008 than before 2008, because they knew how to play the game. They knew how to move. And they can't do that again, right? Okay, you can't have this subprime mortgage crisis again. So, but every few years, they need to do something. There always has to be new wealth created, a transfer of wealth, and they can't do that again. So maybe, I don't know, just maybe, this is the new thing, forbearance. To me, I don't know, it just looks like, from the signs I'm seeing, from the indicators that I'm seeing, from the stories that I hear that how banks are treating people, whether they're just extending your forbearance, hey, take another 3 months, hey, take 6 months, hey, take another 6 months. No paperwork involved. How are you affected? Are you affected? Is your business affected? None of that involved. Yeah. Or the other guy that I know, when he called back, no, you're not extended, we need all the money now. Or, we're hitting you with all these letter defaults. To me, I hope I'm wrong again, but it just seems like it's a land grab. It's a land grab. And if I'm right, this is going to be the biggest land grab that probably in history, or definitely that I've ever seen in my life. Because who is going to have 6 months worth of mortgage payments if they haven't been working? Who is going to have a year's worth of mortgage payments if their business was shut down, if their business is closed forever? If they weren't allowed to go back to work because they've been furloughed or they've been laid off, or not everybody was able to work from home. If you worked on the computer, okay, you can work from home. But a lot of people have physical jobs, laborious jobs that, they actually have to go out, they have to go to an office, or they have to go in the field and this and that and do these jobs. Now, these people that claimed forbearance, right? So they couldn't pay like that month's mortgage, or they couldn't pay the following month's mortgage. They got on forbearance, the second month or whatever. So you think that they're going to be able to pay a year's worth of mortgage in one shot if the bank doesn't take all the months that were in forbearance and stick them in the back of the loan? Suppose there's no space to put it in the back of the loan. Suppose you don't have the equity there. So if you owe, let's say you bought a home for $1 million, you owe maybe, $900,000, but now you got all these mortgage payments due, a year's worth of mortgage payments due. They can't stick the payments in the back of your loan, because now prices aren't increasing in real estate right now. Let me tell you that. Especially not in New York City. In New York City, prices are actually plummeting. Renters are leaving, rich people are leaving. They said the city just in the month of June, over, it's saying something like, how many billionaires have left? I forget the exact number, but there's like a huge number that have left the city. So they're not getting this tax revenue. Cuomo is begging people to come back, these billionaires to come back. So, New York might have lost $30 billion in the last month. $30 billion in the last month. So prices are falling. In New York, prices are definitely falling. I haven't seen them in other places yet, but in New York, prices are definitely falling. And that's a fact. So what I'm saying is, to me, even though this sounds somewhat sinister, and again, I hope I'm wrong, but this looks like the next thing, the next wave of homes that are going to be lost. This looks like a gigantic land grab from the super rich companies, from the big companies, from the hedge funds. And, the small homeowner, the small businessman, the small, landlord is going to be is in for a rough ride. Is in for a rough ride. Yeah. So my advice is, if you, because the 3 month of the forbearance has ended, I believe, in July last month. So whether you got on, if you got on forbearance at the end of March, or you got on in April or May or whatever, so you're only about 3 months in right now. So you still have a chance. Call them up, tell them, take me off forbearance, and work something out. Don't go to 6 month forbearance. Don't go to 12 months forbearance. Don't, even if you have to borrow, if you're back to work and you're able to take care of what you owe and get back on track with your home, get back on track with your mortgage, do it. Do it right now. Do it immediately. Even if you have to call up mom and dad and say, please, lend me a couple bucks, I'll pay you back. If you can, do it, because it's a land grab. There's no other place there's no other way to see it. It's a land grab on a tremendous scale. It's a land grab on a tremendous scale, and you can't blame, oh, you shouldn't have gave me this mortgage, I couldn't afford it. You can't say that this time, because everybody now that has a mortgage was qualified. They're not going to let you say that this time. They've covered all their bases this time. And this happened, there was nothing we can do. This is not our fault. This is not big money's fault. People are going to be wiped out. People are going to really be hurt. Do me a favor, please. If you're in forbearance right now, you're only 3 months behind. Get out. Call them up. Get out. Work it out. Work it. Tell them, look, I'll pay. If you're back to work and you're able, if your business is open, a lot of businesses are open, 50% capacity, restaurants and stuff. If you're able, get out. How are you gonna? Let's say you call them up. You call up your bank. They say, oh no, there's nothing we could do, but you can send in this paperwork and we'll see if we can refinance you, right? They're going to instantly deny you because you're 6 months behind on your mortgage. How are they going to refinance you? Oh no, the forbearance, the rules say, I know some jerk out there is going to say, oh, the rules on forbearance say if you make 12 months of on-time payments, they can't use that against you, and then they change them to 3 months. Okay, you make 3 months on-time payments. They're not accepting any payments from you because they want all the money up front. And if they don't want all the money up front, they're going to say, okay, you have to refinance. But you won't be able to refinance, and you couldn't make 3 monthly on-time payments because they're not only accepting 1 month. They want all that money. So what are you going to do? It's tomfoolery. They're going around the issue, and they're hitting you with all this jargon that, if you're not a real estate person, you might not understand. And from what I'm seeing, seems to be deliberate. It looks to be deliberate. They're hoping that you don't understand the ramifications of accepting a forbearance and not having the money. Now, if you jump on forbearance and you have the money to pay your monthly, and you take that money and you stash it away, every month you stash it away and you stash it away, and you're just gambling the dice that your bank is going to say, oh, okay, we're going to forgive your loan, or we're going to throw it in the back, or whatever. You're gambling and you're waiting to see what happens. And then at the 3 month, at the end of the 3 month, or the end of the 6 month, or the end of the 12 months, whatever, they say, no, we don't have that. We're not offering you that. We need you to pay all the money now. And you say, okay, I got it here. Then you're winning, You're shooting craps with loaded dice. It's no problem. You're taking a gamble, but you hedged your bet. You're covered. You aside, a guy like you aside, business, you're playing the risk, you're taking risks, but your bets are hedged, so you're covered. You aside, The guy that doesn't have the money, the guy that's been furloughed from his job, the guy that's been laid off from his job, the guy or gal that's on unemployment and they can't cover their mortgage payment. And you had to go on forbearance. But now you're back to work or your business is back open and you're like, oh, let me extend the forbearance another 3 months. Let me extend it another 6 months. Let me go the whole year just so I can save up some money. You are the person that I'm talking about. I want you to get off of forbearance today, tomorrow, Monday. Call them and get the F off of forbearance. Because it's a land grab. They're going after your property. They want you out, especially if you have equity. They're not going to put nothing in the back. They're going to tell you, we want all the money now. They're betting that you don't have the money. And they're going to take your property. I'm your host with your profit. Yeah. So that's how I feel. That's how I see it. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I think this is going to be the next wave, and I think they found out a way around 2008. This is going to be the new thing. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, we're going to be talking about this and all the properties that were lost. I'm your host, Richard Profit. If you're into watches, join us later on tonight. We're going to talk Rolex like we always do. I'm your host, Richard Profit. This is the Profit Rolex and Real Estate channel. And I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.